this is something that I thought it's good that we have Dr. Ngozi here. I think that the IMF can't continue to be passive in relation to the one key policy issue that is critical at the moment to ending the pandemic and saving millions of lives. I think that's something that I don't want to leave this without mentioning. The fund needs to show it is support for a TRIPS waiver at the WTO, so we can suspend these monopoly life-saving vaccines and treatments. And I think, Dr. Ngozi, Africa will need the WTO to take a more active role to shepherd its membership behind the South African waiver proposal. Africans are feeling the failure of multilateralism at this point in time and are rightly questioning why WTO is allowing itself to be, held hostage by the EU, especially in favor of a TRIPS waiver, including you have the majority of your members supporting, including the US. And I think that we have already had 17 million people dead. So we have an historic opportunity to act for people.
Peter, I'll talk very rapidly because I have some ambassadors. I'm really going to leave to talk about the TRIPS waiver. That's why I'm smiling. We are doing everything possible. The WTO is a very complicated organization where you need consensus from 164 members to make a decision. So you can imagine when you have 164 countries, each one is a veto. If one says no, nothing happens. So I think it's a very tough situation. And what I've tried to do since I came, before I came, they were arguing this for a year, is to insert a sense of urgency that we must have an answer because lives are at stake. But I want to put it very much in context. First of all, in small defense of the EU, there are countries that don't get mentioned. The EU is actually one of the more forthcoming ones that is ready to find a way out. You understand? There are many other countries, some of them developing, by the way, who are also not for it, but they're not coming forward. So sometimes when everybody bashes the EU is actually very forthcoming, willing to try and find a way. There are some who are hiding behind. Anyway, that's saying too much, but just for you to get a picture. So what we're doing now, we hope that when we had the ministerial meeting, we could come to a decision, but we have to postpone it due to the Omicron and the shutdown of the African countries from traveling in here. So there's no way we could hold a meeting and have 6 or 7 African countries not participating fully in it. Now, we have not worked, and I'm going there now. We have informal discussions going on because the formal track is stuck, but we're not giving up. We are pushing this, and the informal talks are looking a bit more promising. We might be able to come out, but I want you to be clear that WTO is a negotiating forum. So when you have members at opposite ends, they have to be brought somewhere in the middle. That's what I'm trying to do now, bring them so we can come out with a sensible solution that will work for us. It means no one is going to get 100% of what they want. I hope we'll come out, and I think we can, with a situation which will allow us access so we can manufacture and get the technology transfer, whilst reassuring those who are against that the incentivization of research and development is not going to be put behind or, sort of suppressed or depressed. So that's what we're trying to get. It will be a reasonable solution, I hope, that all of us will be able to live with. Let me end by saying this. We've been very fixated on IP, but there are 1 or 2 things that we need to be about on the continent that I've said from my previous experience with vaccines. The first is we have to have manufacturing capacity on the continent. Because if you got IP today and you don't have any manufacturing capacity, what will you do with it? So we've actually been fighting a bigger battle behind with the African vaccine task force to get manufacturing capacity. And I'm happy to say that President Kagame in Rwanda, Don is there, with some of our presidents have been President Ramaphosa, President Macky Sall, they've all been fighting. Now we're going to get hopefully something in Rwanda, more in Senegal, Nigeria is doing something, and so on. South Africa is saying we just got a voluntary license agreed. So we need manufacturing capacity. And lastly, we also need free supply chains, because what people don't realize is that even if you have the capacity and the IP, but the goods don't, remember some of the WTO members put export restrictions on the flow of inputs for the manufacturing. So even those who had the capacity could not do anything for a period of time. So at the WTO, we're also, one of the things that we're focused on is how do we lift the export restrictions? It's even more important. So there are three parts of this, and we're working on it. But I want to reassure you, Peter, we'll keep pushing. Hopefully by early next year, I'm really pushing for us to have a solution.